Could you please be upstanding?
Welcome to the April meeting of Unley Council. Thank you for coming. We would like to acknowledge the land we meet on today as traditional lands, the Kaurna people, and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as traditional custodians of the Adelaide region, and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still as important to living Kaurna people today. We pray for wisdom to provide good governance for the City of Unley in the service of our community. Members will stand in silence in memory of those who have made the supreme sacrifice in the service of their country at sea, on land, in the air. Lest we forget. Okay, first, apologies. Everybody's here? Nil. Leave of absence is obviously nil. Conflict of interest. Does anybody have a conflict of interest with any item in the agenda? Okay, nil. Minutes of the previous meeting. Oh, good, this is not nil. Thank you, Councillor Brunetsky. Seconded by Councillor Bonham. Mover? Those in favour? Unanimous. Petitions and deputations, nil. Report, it should have, reports of committees should be later, but still nil. It's not, but there's two deputations. It's not on the electronic. Thank you. Okay. First, David Brown. Please, if you'd like to come up with your partner and press the button. You have 5 minutes. There will be a bell from at 1 minute warning with a bit of luck. And okay, David. You're right to go when you're ready. Off you go.
Thank you, Mayor Hewitson. I'm here today to talk about agenda item 4.4, which is the dog and cat management plan for 26 to 31. Specifically, I wanted to talk about accessibility to dog parks. One of the first thing I wanted to talk about is the simple fact of the matter is that the fenced dog parks have restricted access times between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. or before 10 a.m. and after 5 p.m. and the unfenced dog parks are accessible all the time. That creates an accessibility issue for me. A lot of people might think, oh, it's just a matter of convenience. Well, it is, there's no doubt about that, but it's a little bit more than that. With a guide dog, I have an obligation to exercise him several days a week, a specific amount of time, and he has to be, he has to interact with other dogs and he has to be well adjusted, because a well adjusted dog means that I'm safe and the community's safe. One of the things that I wanted to really point out is I'm unable to use unfenced dog parks for the simple fact of the matter is that if my dog gets out of sight, which isn't very far from me, it's a danger. And even though he's a guide dog and extremely well trained and will do absolutely everything I say, he's still a dog, and there's always the risk that something can go wrong. So I just wanted to touch on that and let you know that I really think that fencing dog parks is essential. And that what it also means is that people who are sighted have better access to those facilities than I do. And I think all facilities in the local government should be accessible if they can be. So that's the point that I want to make. I also wanted to just touch on a couple of other things. I want to talk about dog parks as being a bit of a cornerstone to urban planning and universal design. There are people in this room who are very well qualified in those things. But I'm finding that the community is still dealing with some inertia when we deal with accessibility to dog parks and other community facilities. I'll leave that there, just as food for thought. Some of the examples of some of the benefits of dog parks for people like me They build a sense of community. The dog park that I use, Scammell Reserve, we have a bit of a social group. We go for drinks and dinner sometimes, and it's a place where I can feel safe, and that's really important. The other thing, just a little thing that I came across the other day, there was some elderly people that were in the dog park, and they didn't have dogs of their own, but they came to enjoy our dogs in a safe environment. And you know, I think that's the very essence of what we should be doing when we're building a community. Isn't it nice that people want to do that sort of thing? And I think if we had better access to dog parks, there'd be a lot more of that. And wouldn't you like to see more guide dogs in there? Safety. One of the alternatives that you guys have is the City of Adelaide Dog Park. And I just wanted to say about that, I'm not against it at all, but for me, it's inaccessible. It's not in a safe location. It's not somewhere that I can get to easily. And it's not something that I wouldn't feel comfortable being there. I don't know people, I don't know the environment very well. There's a risk of all sorts of things going wrong with my dog. So I just wouldn't want to use it. And it's a bit of a safety hazard. Whereas if I take Scammell Reserve, which is my dog park, I like to call it mine, I know everybody, I know the dogs, and people are supportive, and I feel comfortable and safe there. And I think that's really important. Moving right along, I'm going to make my time no matter what. Some simple things that we might be able to consider. Double gate systems on the dog parks. Okay. Adequate lighting, good maintenance, accessible toilets, and separating access ways for people without dogs. And then I think the council has a job to promote the benefits of dog parks and also to better integrate things like the dog and cat management plan with the disability access and inclusion plan. And then I've come across a couple of frustrations as I've gone along. I've written to councillors, and I think last time I wrote I got one response from one councillor, which says to me that maybe we've got a little bit of a way to go when we're dealing with accessibility issues, because I think we could have done better than that. And that's about it. The last thing I want to say, with my guide dog right next to me, is that dogs aren't the enemy. They're a really important part of our community. They mean a lot to a lot of us. And I think that it really should be recognised that they're going to be... We have limited space. We all know we have to share it. Not every park can be everything to everybody, but we could do a lot better with the spaces that we've got. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, David. Any questions? Thank you, David.
No worries. Thank you.
Oh, very good dog. Okay, next, Deborah Clark from Forestville. Deborah wants to talk about the Gould Oval, which will be on the agenda in 2 weeks' time. She's unable to be here in 2 weeks' time, and because I have spaces tonight to be able to include people, I've allowed Deborah to speak about an agenda item which we as councillors haven't got all the details because the staff aren't quite ready to have all the full answers to all the questions asked. Off you go.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak out of order. I understand both the final approval for the tennis extension and the outcomes of the consultation around the precinct will be discussed at the next meeting. I'm really referring mainly to the tennis extension, which has been through the Development Assessment Committee. I must say I'm really happy to have an amazing community resource like the Goodwood precinct in my neighbourhood. I love hearing the cricket and the footy and the tennis. I'm 50 metres from the Oval. I've lived there for 39 years and I've enjoyed the hockey pitch, the Oval, the tennis courts, all of it. It's a fantastic facility. I fully support the upgrade of the Oval surface and the irrigation, which I'm advised will not change its footprint. I do note that the street parking is very bad most weekends and school holidays, and if there are to be more tennis events as stated in the tennis proposal, this is bound to worsen. I also note that the tennis proposal was given in principal support and financial allocation by Council in Camera in December 2024 and made public in May 2025. Comments are made in many parts of the tennis proposal that public access remains unchanged. Strictly speaking, the encroachment takes away currently accessible public space, puts it behind a pay-per-use fenced space, so to say that the space is open to the community is disingenuous at best. I also note that numerous sporting groups use the entire space of the old hockey pitch frequently. This ranges from 2 small ovals marked up for junior cricket in summer to 4 mini soccer pitches for juniors and football warm-ups in winter. And I'm sure that Goodwood Primary School will be speaking at the next meeting. Regarding the tree, which is my major concern, the significant tree, planning overlays, as you all well know, require that reasonable development options and design solutions have been considered to prevent substantial tree damaging activity. Also, that regulated and significant trees, including their root systems, are not unduly compromised by excavation or sealing surfaces within the vicinity of the tree. The proposed encroachment by the development as it is will be 11% into the notional root zone. The maximum recommended is 10% or less. In the text of one of the arborist reports, this is described as likely tolerable to the survival of the tree. Not very compelling. The hydrological root survey, which was done by Tennis SA, identified 4 roots larger than 100 millimetres in diameter in that space. One was over 180 millimetres in diameter. And there are 6 also very large roots, 25 to 100 mils, all near the surface, which will be cut if the development goes ahead as is. Covering that area with an impermeable surface must have a detrimental effect on the tree. The assessed tree is not known to tolerate root loss. I think that's really important. In my opinion, these facts and recommendations don't give any assurance or confidence that the tree will survive and thrive. My suggestion is that one of the walkways, when you consider it at the next meeting, of course, one of the walkways be removed from the proposal. Currently, there are 2 2-metre walkways recommended by Tennis SA. Now, it's a terrible drawing, but I don't have the IT equipment at home. Chelmsford Avenue is up the top. There's 12 tennis courts. Tennis SA wants 2 2-metre walkways for access to all of the courts. They can do that by using the external fences with lockable gates and 1 walkway to access the 2 rows. I'm sorry that's a terrible map, but it's the best I could do with what I have at home. So my suggestion is that one of those walkways be removed, and I would also suggest that the footpath on Argyle Avenue be upgraded so that there is shaded space for people to watch the tennis from the side of the court as well. Taking 2 metres off of the requested expansion would reduce the proximity to the tree by 2 metres, obviously, reduce the impact on the notional root zone to within the legal limits, and it would give the tree a better chance of survival while allowing tennis to achieve its required goals. I believe this is a compromise well worth consideration. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Are there any questions? Thank you. Good. Now, we've had a deputation on something on the agenda, and that's item 4.4, the dog and cat management part. Can I have 2/3 majority, please, indication to bring that forward? Those in favour? Thank you very much. We'll bring it forward. We'll now go to item 4.4. Those with computers can go click. I'll pause for Danielle to be with us. Danielle, you right? Excellent. Could I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Doyle.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Rabeet, for agreeing to have Councillor Doyle go first.
So I'd like to move option 1. Thank you. Tonight we're endorsing the draft dog and cat management plan 2026 to 2031 to go out to consultation with the community. That's the next 5 years, so it's quite important that we get this right. The three actions in this plan are important ones. It's a dog and cat management plan, so I'm pleased we've got a cat investigation in there as well. I think it's important we have the dog park investigation as well. So thank you, Dave, for your deputation tonight. Dave Brown has volunteered his time and energy to Unley Council as a member of our DAPE reference group. He's made a simple request to Council for a safe, off-leash space for his guide dog to exercise in the daytime. Dave was told that he would have to go to Burnside or Adelaide Council dog parks to exercise his dog off-leash in daytime hours. I guess we need to ask ourselves, is that good enough? For Dave, this matter is not nice to have, it's essential. Norwood Council has a similar population and 4 dog parks. Burnside 2, Mitcham 2. In fact, Unley is one of the very few which does not have a designated dog park. Why? We have 5,000 registered dogs, meaning approximately 10,000 residents, if you average out, say, 2 people per household, who live with a dog. That's a lot of people. Unley is no different to all the other councils. There is a need for a dog park, in my opinion. Sarah Rice, a Fullerton resident, has started a petition calling for council to build a full-time, fully fenced, lit, off-leash dog park in Unley. She already has over 240 signatures. Unfortunately, I don't think she and others believed that the concept might be killed before it actually went to consultation. Safety. If you have a legitimate fear of dogs, what would you prefer? Dogs off-leash in an open space or a fenced space? You can choose to enter a fenced dog park. People entering an unfenced park or space, such as Orphanage Park or Goodwood Oval, may not want to be around dogs off-leash. This is actually a safer option. Fenced dog parks are safer for the public and safer for dogs. Does it make any sense that we complain about dogs being off-leash in open spaces but provide no alternative for fenced daytime dog exercise? Yes, there are many questions about how and where, but that's the whole point. This action is looking at consulting on an investigation to see if there's an appetite in the community to pursue this. I think it's important we allow our community to have their say. There is talk about other aspects like dog exclusion parks. I wouldn't be against that, but give people otherwise an option for a fenced dog park first. And looking at enforcement, increasing enforcement without listening to people's calls for safer dog exercise areas is wrong. It just paints us as being not a dog-friendly council. I can't think of a valid reason not to investigate dog park options, and I think Dave's request is very reasonable. I think some of the objections to including the dog park investigation in the draft plan can be looked at. So is it too hard? Where would it go? We don't really need one. Dog owners leave their poo everywhere. I mean, a lot of that stuff will come out in the investigation, not the poo part of it, but on the poo part of it, I think we do hear a lot of complaints about dog owners, and it shouldn't impact. It's a small minority that do the wrong thing. Same as with cyclists, it doesn't impact how we support cyclists. So in any case, I'd urge you to listen to Dave's request and the other people with an interest in us investigating a dog park, and support option 1.
Okay, thank you. Is there a seconder?
Yes, I'd like to second the motion and just reiterate some of the points that Councillor Doyle made, that in a quick scan of all of the councils in the Adelaide area, roughly around 90% of them have dog parks, either 1 or even up to 5 dog parks for some of those councils. And as Councillor Doyle said, we're actually just talking about investigating to have a dog park. We're not actually we haven't made a decision as whether we will have one or not. So to just not go ahead with the investigation means we're not being provided with the information that will help us just make a decision as to whether it's worthwhile to have a dog park. So, and the other points that there are people who don't want to go to parks sometimes because dogs are there. So by having a dog park, you at least have got a place where both people can feel safe. So for those reasons, as what Councillor Doyle pays, I support this motion. I second this motion.
Thank you. And just for the public record, I thank councillors for sharing their position and acknowledging there's a difference of views of this around council. Councillor Rabeat agreed for Councillor Doyle to go first and lose the right of reply, and doing so because Councillor Rabeat has a different point of view. Over to you.
Thank you, Worship, and thank you, Mr Brown, for your deputation, and I note your comments.
Michael, could you bring it a bit closer? Thanks.
I note your comments about a range of issues that affect you and with your dog. However, in comparing our council to other councils and saying we don't have a dog park, nor do we have the same amount of space, open area space in our council, the smallest of any metropolitan area in Adelaide, any metropolitan council in Adelaide. And I draw members' attention to section 3 of this item on page 9, relevant core strategies of our community plan towards 2050. Goal 1, we foster a community where all people can feel safe, welcomed and included. Goal 2, we invest in, revitalise and expand our open spaces, recreation facilities and infrastructure. As I've said, we already have the lowest amount of open space of any metropolitan council. If we carve out a further space for a fenced area of dog park, that will significantly reduce the area that is available for other users. Whichever dog park is chosen, whichever park might be chosen for a dog park, with the exception of those in close proximity, all others would have to travel to get to that park. Given that travel would be necessary for most people, why would they not use a park that's already established and one which Unley Council has already contributed to significantly for the establishment and cost, namely the park by Marshmallow Park in the South Park lands. In the section 5 of the guiding principles of the document, again, a couple of dot points. The second one, ensure that a fair balance is made between the needs of pet owners and other park users, particularly given the limited amount of open space in Unley. And dot point 6, planning for equitable access to open spaces and ensuring safe and enjoyable experiences for all. There are other issues raised in the focus area section, but it's just repeating the same issues that I've already identified. So on the basis of those issues, I can't support this motion.
Okay, any other speakers? Councillor Gaffey and then Councillor Bonham.
Thank you, Worship. Look, by and large, I support item 4.4, the draft dog and cat management plan for community consultation. However, I cannot include that support for the proposal for a fenced dog park feasibility study in the consultation package at this time. I would suggest that I would support this motion if that were no longer present. Unley has very limited open space. We already provide a combination of fenced areas, shared playground and dog zones, some off-leash opportunities. As has been noted by other councillors, in recent years, council has also contributed funding to the development of a dedicated dog park in the parklands in the City of Adelaide. Residents have ready access from my ward to the fenced dog parks in the City of Burnside. What's being described here is not that there isn't a dog park in the City of Unley, but it's access, it's exclusivity. It's the ability to be able to use it at all times. So Friday morning I went for a run. 7 in the morning I went past Fraser Reserve. Lady out there with her dog, throwing the ball, a fenced area. On her own, no problems. But that doesn't count as a dog park in this motion, even though when you look at it online on Google, it's classed as a dog park. As has been noted by Mr. Brown, I ran past Scammell Reserve, 6 dog owners, multiple dogs running through there. All of them would class that as a dog park, but it's the access at all hours that is being disputed here. It's the exclusivity. Unley is challenged with the amount of open space that we have. We need to balance all of our residents. We are unable to favour one compared with the other. And at this stage, I believe that we have that balance right. That there is a period of time for those parks where we don't have a lot of room in order to provide some time for off-leash and some time where children are able to play. The children are not mentioned here. That if you have a kid and it's a small child, you're the type of person who's going to go there between 10 and 5 during the day. Perhaps it's because you've got the older kids that are in primary school. It is challenging to take those kids out and to get them to play if you don't have a safe area for them to do so. Families with children, walkers, sporting groups, general people who want to be able to use those areas without dogs in them at that time for a small window. The concept that having a dog park will allow Unley to remove dog owners from other areas is challenging at best. I cannot see those people who are able to access an area, such as Unley Oval, being told, I'm sorry, now that we have a dog park, you're unable to use this area. Every time we go and restrict someone else from a different part, as has been noted, we find it harder to manage the expectations of the community. So the challenge then lies, what do we do? As has been noted in this draft management plan, we're going to look at the off-leash and on-leash areas there. But if we go out to consultation, we are going to drag the community into a much larger fight. But we are bequeathing the next council that gift. We are saying to the next council, please enjoy this while the community has to fight each other over this issue there. And that council did not sign up for it. We are giving them that gift of a council that will have to go in and manage this issue. If they want to do that, that's fine. They've got 4 years to work through that. But for us to go and put this in the last 6 months of our term, and we're not even going to follow it through, I don't want to be a part of that. So I won't be supporting this motion.
Okay, Councillor Russo. Sorry, Councillor Bonham. She's got a button on first, and then I'll give you a go.
Is that what happened?
Because nobody else has got one on, I can see.
That's right. I forget which flashing means the next one or not the next one. Okay. I am split a little bit with this motion as a supporter of dogs, but I don't use off-leash areas because my dog's the type of dog that sometimes he's okay. Sometimes if there's too many dogs or big dogs, he doesn't like it. And that's one of the issues, big dogs versus little dogs. There's a lot of people, hence why Marshmallow Park's got a big dog area and little dog area, because even dogs don't get along with each other. So that's been purposely built specifically for dogs and their owners, and very much segregated for small dogs and large dogs. And the setup there is really quite good. My concern is that we do have a number of spaces across Unley which our community believe are already dog parks. I think there's a lot of people don't even really consider whether their dog has to be on or off leash and what the times are. I have noticed myself when I walk my dog that sometimes it's free for all and all the rest of it, and us, our council being able to police that, I think is pretty much impossible. Just like about picking up dog poo, it's the same issue. It's education and awareness, but and signage and all those things to help the community do the right thing. But unfortunately, we know that not everyone in our community does that. So it comes down to that we've got these spaces already, which people already are labelling whether they're off leash or on leash, whether they're parks or dog parks. And I think there's some confusion generally. And I'm just wondering whether adding the dog park and doing this feasibility study will I guess, add to the issue or confuse the matter, when really what we should be doing is looking at what we've got and revisiting hours on and off a leash and so forth. And maybe there's some variation across our parks to say that, well, to allow accessibility, because that obviously is a concern, that there's maybe people in the middle of the day that do want to have a fenced area for their dog to be off leash, and we're not, it's not being provided. So I think we need to look at how these spaces are being used, and whether they are defined or not defined as a dog park, and look at the hours in regarding to on and off leash. I'd rather start there first before adding to the mix of possibly saying, yes, we definitely, because to me I think doing that will enable us to determine whether a separate exclusive dog park is needed. And my concern is if that is all the issues that Councillor Rabbit has brought up and Councillor Gaffey around which one. We're going to have to do a lot of infrastructure for that to make it specifically purposeful as well, because it does need proper two-way fences. It needs toilets to be on the outside for the community access. There's lots of things that need to go into it. So I understand it's just a study, but I'm wondering how much of this is then, I guess, confusing our community and possibly adding more fuel to the fire when we need to maybe, and possibly splitting our community of dogs, those that like dogs and those that don't like dogs, or and so forth, or those that would prefer to have their parks with dog free versus those that want secure areas for their dogs. So I think it's a really big topic, and I think we're not going to please everyone, that's for sure, but I just think we need to be mindful of what we've got, look at what we've got first and look at that and get community feedback on that and what they think or see, and give them the opportunity to put the vision on what could or might work or might not work before adding another element. So I'm hopeful to listen to some other people's views on what they think. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Bonham, we did get to.
Like Councillor Russo, I've had mixed views on this one, but I am inclined to come down in support of going out to consultation on the dog park. I do think it's probably going a step too far to ask people which area and exploring locations, but I think we need to bear in mind this is an investigation. It's not saying we will definitely go ahead with this. So therefore, I think the idea that it's showing favouritism at this stage is not a fair summation of what we're trying to do. So I think we're also, in some of the arguments raised, probably by both sides of this debate, we're probably second-guessing what our community will say. So I think it is important to go out to find out the temperature of community views on this one, and if we have a strong position one way or the other, then we'll know where we stand. If we have a 50-50 split or thereabouts, or if it's very close, then there are consultation techniques that have been used in other locations to actually minimise the threat of this becoming a hostile debate. So I point to consultation methods used in the Latrobe Valley some years ago, where very hostile groups, hotly opposed to each other, actually were brought together to better understand the views of other people. So there are consultation techniques that we can use in these kinds of circumstances. So it's not creating unnecessary hostility and aggravation within our community. So I think it's worth going out to consultation on this just to get the temperature of our community on this one. And yes, it may be up to the next council on whether or not to proceed with this, but at least they'll have a reasonably clear understanding of where our community stands.
Okay, any other speakers? Oh, Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, Your Worship. Dogs, cats, trees, open space, conflicts between all of these are emotionally some of the more challenging decisions made by council. And addressing the need of just one will invariably impact on one or more of the others. Tonight is one such case. We are legislatively required to review our dog and cat plan, or as it is now, the animal management plan, and must do so every 5 years. In my time, however, on council, we've reviewed the policy more than this, prompted sometimes by the events at one or more of our parks, often prompted by dog owners claiming a park once it becomes fenced, as happened a number of years ago in the park around the corner from me, Page Park. And we keep coming back with the same results. Honestly, many in our community might be wondering why we are coming back and asking the same question when they have answered it previously time and again. Whether we talk off-leash hours or a dedicated dog park, I struggle that we will simply be repeating what we've done to death, potentially with the same answer. That said, I'm happy by all means, let's look again at off-leash hours and see where that takes us. Seeking community input on a dedicated dog park, however, while it likely will get an upfront no, may get a yes. But if it does, the end result will still be a no, because when we pick on the individual parks, and I think of in the past Scammell Reserve, I think of the orphanage, I think of Page Park, the ultimate answer comes back as a no. Why? We may approve investigating if any parts may be viable to a dedicated park, but I can guarantee that when we take that park back to consultation, the overall response will be no. An exercise therefore in futility, using up valuable resources to ultimately change nothing. And that's before we get into small dogs versus large dogs. Let's throw in medium dogs. What about the policing of effective control in a dog park? And how about how dogs get to their park, sharing spaces with kids on the way? For mine, therefore, carry out the review, focus on off-leash hours, but do not entertain the thought of dedicated dog parks.
Councillor Bonham, you've spoken. Do you have a question? Councillor Hughes first. Yes. Oh, Councillor Hughes going first. Oh, no, you ask your question. Councillor Hughes will... Sorry. You ask your question. Peter, could you switch your mic off? Thanks. And you will be next, Peter, regardless of the mics.
Yeah, I just wanted to find out what studies we've had in the past. I know this is unanticipated, but given the comment that we've had questions out for consultation on whether or not there should be a dog park, a fenced dog park, can we be provided with the results of that? Does anyone know off the top of their head the results?
That's a big question off the top of their head. Councillor Palmer's right. We have looked at lots of dog park questions and hours and stuff. Yes, Peter, have a go.
No, through you, Chair, we'll have to get that information and see what we've done in the past.
Sorry about that. Okay, Councillor Hughes, off you go.
I can give a partial answer to that question as part of my 5 minutes. The last time we consulted, it was about increasing the hours available in our existing parks. Approximately 100 of the people who participated in that consultation said yes, we should increase the hours, not starting at 5 o'clock, but starting at 4 o'clock. 100 people at the time. I've got the notes I used in a speech about 6 years ago, but it must have been 8 years ago, and that's how I know the fact there. Now, reasons for my concern about this: it has been investigated before, and nothing has changed in our ability to provide a dedicated dog park since that time. As has been said, we've still got the least amount of open space of any council in South Australia, and that's why other councils have more capacity to provide dedicated dog parks. Now, we've previously agreed to support Adelaide City Council. We made a conscious decision. We could not find a dog park space, and so we will send money to Adelaide City Council to do it. Now, councils in Australia, by the way, are notorious for taking up good-sounding ideas and consulting and researching, investigating, and then the majority of those cases, nothing comes out of it. I think we'll be wasting a lot of staff time and creating false hopes for some people if we go ahead and do consultation. There's a greater good at stake here for me, and that's protecting children's entitlement to free, unhindered play. In many of our parks, children cannot have that right now. To take one park away completely is abominable. It only takes one playful dog, a playful dog even, to interfere with a child's activity to cause that child to freeze up and not automatically start embracing the dog and cuddling it and what have you. Dogs, other people's dogs, do not go with other people's children in a park. So we cannot put more children at risk like that. Some children do have a phobia, some adults have a phobia about dogs, and we have a 7-year-old grandchild who visits several times a week. We have to persuade and convince her to walk 60 metres down the street to our local park, and the first sign of a dog, she grabs my leg and wants to go home. So I shudder to think what would happen if our park was chosen to be... Anyway. There are also... Any sort of change can bring unintended consequences, and as sure as the sun will come up tomorrow morning, if we have a dedicated dog park, the next thing will be we need separation between big dogs and small dogs. We've already had motions to council about that some years ago and decided, no, we don't have the space to create that separation. So to me, it is futile to raise hopes and spend time on investigating this extension.
Mover, would you like to do your right to reply?
Yes, thank you. So it sounds like we've consulted before about off-leash hours in dog parks rather than an actual designated dog park. So this is different. We already have suitable parks, as has been said, Macleay, Scammell, Page Park, where the playgrounds are fully fenced. So Councillor Hughes' concerns about children's safety, and also the debate that it's children versus dogs. A lot of families have children and dogs. So a designated dog park does work for them. And on the safety issue, just getting back to the fact that people are happy to have dogs off-leash in open spaces, but nowhere off-leash in a fenced space. I think Councillor Gaffey talked about bequeathing the next council the gift of including this in the consultation. Some people will be happy to give the gift of leaving this on the table for the next council, not killing it. This is setting the agenda for the next 5 years. And Councillor Russo has talked about small and large dogs. All of that's part of the investigation. I think reviewing, again, tinkering with the hours of on and off leash, we've been there, we've done that, nothing happens. That's why I believe it should be a dog park investigation. It's very clear what we're dealing with then, a designated space for 24-hour use by dogs. We currently have that in open spaces where dogs can be off-leash 24 hours. I think there should be a fence space for that. There's a lot of fear and anxiety about consulting and what might happen between the opposing groups. Dog people and anti-dog people. Unley is no different from any other council. Other councils have done this. They have dog parks. We can do it. It's surely not that hard or unachievable. And I'm glad that no one else has talked about this, but Dave actually said in his deputation, he touched on the other social benefits of dog parks, the creation of meaningful connections between residents. Some residents are socially isolated and this might be their only social connection. It's very, very powerful. There's not many other ways that council can influence that sort of social connection, but it's very, very special. My husband and I have been to weddings, funerals. It's a very, very important part of people's life, very powerful. I just think if you can go up to Dave after this meeting and give him a logical, clear reason why you want this concept killed, then vote no. Otherwise, give it a chance. We're not voting to establish a dog park. We're not voting to investigate establishing a dog park. We're voting to allow the community to be consulted on whether they want a dog park investigation. If we're removing half of the consultation material, is it worth going to consultation? It sounds like people have made their mind up already. Consultation findings will be disregarded. That's not really consultation. Anyway, I urge you to consider supporting option 1.
Okay, those in favour, please indicate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those against, please indicate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hang on, I can't count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, I can. So I have to put division. Those in favour, please stand. Right, thank you very much. I declare the motion lost. Councillor Beat, would you please move your alternate motion?
Thank you, Your Worship.
Can just wait for it's up there because I want to make sure it's the motion that you're happy with.
Option 2.
Because I can't see the words from here because of this thing. You've got to tell me whether it's what you want to move. And
Yes, that's fine. The additional, the clause in there is 2.1, removal from the draft plan of the strategic project.
do you wish to speak to that?
Dog park.
Since
I will speak to that, if I
do you
may,
wish to speak to that one?
please.
All right, okay. You may speak. Yep.
Okay. Just a couple of points that have been raised by members, and thank you all for your contributions. Consultation is likely to create an expectation that, given our limited space, which we keep talking about, will not be achievable. The social interaction that is important, and I acknowledge that. I see so many people at where I go at Orphanage Park interacting morning, noon and night, and that is really important. And the fact that the parks that we have will not be impacted by the fact of not having a dedicated fenced dog park. So the social interaction is unchanged. Most of my previous statements I don't think need to be repeated, but I will say that in order to provide a range of options for all members of our community that includes both active and quiet places, a provision for people to take their dogs, we cannot afford to carve out a dedicated area. We just do not have the room. We said across the road, across Green Hill Road in the South Park lands, there's a dog park for all dogs by Marshmallow Park on Glen Osmond Road, and in Peltzer Park by Unley Road, there is a park with separate areas for small and large dogs. Very well catered for in that area. As Mr Brown said, he's comfortable with Scammell Reserve, but if there was not to be a dog park in Scammell Reserve, then he would have to go to an alternative location, which he's already indicated. We have those locations already available in the South Park lands just across the road. So I think dog owners are very well catered for within the City of Unley, where there are on-leash, off-leash areas, for various times of the days and evenings. And so I think removing that item from the study, I don't think is a disadvantage, and it negates the need, the issue of possible false expectations within our community. So I ask you to agree with this motion.
Okay. Seconder?
Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Palmer, you're happy to just second
I'll second that motion and reserve my right.
Yep. Is there a seconder for the motion to be put? Lots of people. I saw Councillor Brunetsky's hand because I was looking that way, but out of the corner of my eye there was another hand. The motion is that the motion be put. Those in favour? 1, 2, 3, that's day on 2, 4, 6, 7. That's motion be put is carried. I put the motion. Those in favour of the motion, please indicate. Those in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4, the same numbers as before. Those against? Yep, 7, 5. Does anyone want to call a division? Yes. You want to call a division? Those in favour, please stand this time. At least you can see whether you're in the right group up on the screen. I can't see the top ones, but that's every credit. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, declare that motion carried. Okay, now we'll go back to the agenda in order. 4.1, the road closure, portion of Mary Place, I mean. God, that would want to close. It'd be havoc if we close some of Mary Street. Councillor Russo. Thank you, Councillor Russo. Moving terms.
Sorry, I'm just getting to the page. Yeah, I agree with the recommendation that has been put in front of us. This is fairly straightforward. We've had previous discussions around the road closure plan that's been proposed, and so at this stage I think it is simply forming part of the process to now just fulfil this and allow this to occur. So I'll be supporting the recommendation as in front of us.
Councillor Finos.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll be seconding this motion. And I'll be supporting the sale of the small parcel of land in Mary Place, as holds Mary Place, as it holds little significance to council and offers a strong potential for the actual owner or a developer to enhance future development on the said site and surrounding area. So, and I would like to note there was no community feedback, so I think this is a no-brainer for council to actually support option 1, 4.1.
Anybody speak against it? No. Mover?
Close.
Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Next, City Infrastructure Project status update. That the report be received. Councillor Brunetsky is happy to move the report be received.
Yes, look, I think this is great getting this report. I do get a lot of questions about what will be done or what won't be done and when, and what is that, you know, what are the roadworks on Doothie Street, for example. So I think this just provides an opportunity for us to be able to respond to those questions with confidence and know what the timelines are too. I think it's a great development that we have this report.
Councillor Bonham, seconding it.
Yes, I'm very happy to second this report as well. And as Councillor Brunetsky has said, it really does give us a really good ongoing overview of where our many projects are up to. So it's not only helps the community, but it also certainly helps us in keeping track of the huge number of projects that we've got going. And I have to say, I'm amazed that our staff keep up with all of this. So congratulations to staff for keeping on doing all this work.
Yeah, I'd second that. Councillor Russo.
Yeah, just a couple of things. Obviously this is in the public domain. Does this chart, or the chart which captures particularly all these projects, is that quite visible to the community in a format on our website? Because my thing is about, that's one thing, because I think there's a misunderstanding out in our community that somehow they want another project or something else done. And I think this really gives the community a really good idea of how much, as Councillor Bonner's already stated, how much our council does for the community. If they're talking about projects that predominantly looks after their community, this is it in a nutshell. And I think somehow if we can help educate or raise awareness around that level before people keep on saying, we want this, we want that, you don't do enough. I see this as a great example of what we're doing and should be celebrated and promoted, I guess, to try and at least broaden awareness across our communities. So,
thank you, Councillor Russo. Any other speakers? Okay, I am actually going to speak about this. We've actually had a deputation from one of your ward councillors who lives fairly close to where we live. Pardon? Yes, when he made a deputy. Yeah, no, he lives in the Unley ward, who presented on this and asked for this type of presentation. And I think I've got it on my screen now, and it is, as Councillor Russo says, quite superb. And the efforts of staff in communicating what we're doing, I encourage members to spread the word, take a picture of that. I've got a snip picture there, just done it, and share it round. And as Councillor Russo says, spread the word. We are doing things and getting it done. So thank you.
Through the chair, we'll put it on the website, so the table, not so much the report, so it's open to all community. It's a public document.
Good. Now, I've got to remember to do that tomorrow and send that out. But I think it's great. Move it. Those in favour? Unanimous. Brilliant. Now, I've got to get that back up. We've done City Ministry of Disability. Disability report. The recommendation. Somebody move in terms. Councillor Brunetsky, you're going to move in terms.
Yes, look, I do want to say a few things to this.
Yes, you can say a few things as long as the motion is in terms. Yep.
Look, I'm very happy with the additional community consultation about the Disability Action and Inclusion Plan. Pleased to see the implementation of a DAP reference group, which is really a linchpin for the governance process around community consultation and ongoing engagement. On page 51, I see that face-to-face engagement occurred with younger people to ensure balanced participation across age groups, particularly given that the number of people, the survey numbers over 60 was about 50%. So, there were a lot of older people engaged in responding. So getting that balance with younger people is good. Mobility barriers stood out like a beacon in relation to usability of footpaths and roads, as well as park and open space accessibility. Strategically, this is being addressed through the Accessible Streets program and footpath program. I'm assuming that park and open space upgrades apply DDA requirements just like any other upgrade that we do to our buildings, for example. Reducing barriers to enable people with disabilities to be volunteers is a very good inclusion. I've seen volunteers who, with age, developed significantly reduced functional capacity, but they've still managed to contribute really effectively, and I saw that at the museum committee, where one of the committee members gradually did become quite disabled, but was still doing things that was quite incredible. So, you know, I think that that's a very useful, very valuable addition to the plan. In relation to the application of universal design when upgrading council facilities, which was raised in the community feedback, I contacted administration about where the community infrastructure plan is at. I was told the plan will come to council in May or June. That is a strategic document which will inform more detailed action around community facility infrastructure requirements. That then will inform community centre upgrades, including the application of universal design that was raised in the feedback. So I'm happy to receive the report and adopt the Disability Action and Inclusion Plan 2026 to 2030.
Councillor Doyle.
Thank you. I'd like to second it as well. Councillor Brunetsky's done a great job of picking out the good bits and acknowledging the hard work that's been done. I think the final progress report from the last plan was quite good. We had the establishment of the DAPE reference group, the grant applications, business awards, so just trying to embed disability and inclusion across various parts of the council. Infrastructure, charging points, parking and toilets. Councillor Brunetsky talked about universal design principles. And the feedback that was received from the draft DAPE. And two of the strongest themes were better accessibility, community participation and inclusion. There has been some comment that we should be setting more concrete commitments, and that was in the report as well. And I don't know if people are aware, but Dave Brown is on the DAPE reference group. So that was his comments as well. We need to make sure this is not a box-ticking document, and disability access and inclusion principles are embedded. We need to find out how we can do better by actually listening to people with disability. In terms of accessibility, we heard from Dave tonight, so I don't know how long he's going to remain engaged with council after tonight's decision. Community participation, we have the example of Broughton Arts Society that are a shining light in our community for providing arts and engagement for people with disability. And I think we as a council are addressing some of the shortcomings with their buildings' accessibility, and I think we're moving in the right direction. So I congratulate Darren, Vanessa and the team for completing the DAPE, and members of the DAPE reference group who bring their own lived experience. But ultimately it means nothing if we don't actually listen to residents with disability and figure out how we can do better.
Yes, I'll of course be supporting this too, and thank staff for all their work on it. The only issue I wanted to raise, or potential for some minor editing, was the consultation report itself. So the report itself identifies specific changes as a result of community feedback, but these aren't elaborated in the consultation section of the plan itself. And so while we've taken on board that feedback, and that's identified in our discussion here, that hasn't been identified in the plan itself. And I think it's quite important for our community to understand how that feedback's been taken on board. Is it possible at this stage to include that? Can that come in as an editorial change to actually include that information?
Okay, thank you for the question, Councillor Bonham. Vanessa, you're going to handle it? Okay, thanks.
Thanks. Through the chair. Thanks for your question, Councillor Bonham. And I think you might have also asked this by email earlier today, so I'm not sure if members have seen the answer to that. The short answer is the plan itself is more of a strategic document, and so we're deliberately trying to keep the detailed consultation outcomes separate from the plan, whilst acknowledging that the plan was informed by consultation. So, and obviously the consultation report is also available as a public document. If council wants us to include that kind of detail in the plan, I think that goes beyond a minor editorial amendment. And so we'd probably need the chamber to ask us to do that. So I think that would go beyond a minor editorial amendment from my perspective.
Okay. You've wound back the clock. Yep. Do you want to add anything else? I didn't check whether you've had your time or not.
No, I hadn't had my time.
No.
But I think, given that I actually didn't get the email till late, so I haven't had a chance to follow up with councillors on making an amendment. I think at this late stage, I'll simply let it go as it is. But I think perhaps it's something to be able to take on board in future.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I should have checked. It disappeared. Can you leave? Thanks very much. You're normally so precise and ahead of me. Now, anybody else? No? Mover? Those in favour? Excellent. Thank you. Unanimous. Next. We're up to 4.5, planning for growth. Are you with us? Yep, we're ready to go. Well, whose lights? Oh, Councillor Pump. I'm looking to try and see your ruddy light. I could see the lights flashing and I couldn't see the light.
And I watched your eyes going backwards and forwards, and I'm clearly in your peripheral vision.
Okay, off you go. You got 6 o'clock on.
Look, item 4.5, this motion may seem benign because it's just simply to note the report, but it is a precursor to the elected members' bus tour of identified potential growth precincts. More importantly, and the tour will be a precursor to the workshop we have planned. That in turn lets our people know we're about to make a decision, and they are waiting with bated breath, I can assure you. Our admin have put in the hard yards to get us this far, a task that has required them to be inquisitive as to potential. That said, and I'm sure the end result, when it comes back before us in June, will look different to that presented tonight. One thing I personally will look forward to in the chamber at that time, and I know our community will for that matter, is gaining a better understanding of what is housing diversity. It is still not well enough explained at this point.
Councillor Bonham.
Yes, I'm happy to second this motion and simply reiterate that it is simply receiving the report tonight. It's not making decisions. It has in the report the next steps in this process. As Councillor Palmer has said, it's going to be a bus tour of diverse housing sites for elected members, and then we'll come back at the end of May to actually go back through the draft Planning for Growth plan that went out to our community, have a look at the feedback, align that with our understanding of diversity and so forth. I suppose at this stage, I think, because I know we have people in the gallery who have made feedback on this and who are very keen to know that we actually have heard and listened to their feedback. Their concerns are on height of development, impact on and loss of heritage and character, congestion, which, given the condition of our public transport network, people aren't confident that increasing infill is going to lead to lower traffic because people will be taking public transport or riding their bicycles or things like that. So people really are concerned, given the paucity of our public transport network, about infill development increasing traffic and traffic congestion within the area. So I think that means we have to do a lot of advocacy with our state government on improving the public transport network. People are also really concerned about loss of green space and loss of trees with further infill development. So I think that they've really sent that message to us loud and clear. And I think our community is to be congratulated on the thoughtfulness of their feedback, the level of feedback they've provided. People have gone and learnt about the planning system as a result of this. So there's been a huge amount of input from our community, and so I really think that it's incumbent upon us to listen to that feedback, take it seriously in our review of the Planning for Growth document when we come back to it in a workshop in late May. I think, and this is just, I know that all we're doing here is receiving the report, but in my view it will be useful as part of that to know what would be the impacts of reducing some of those heights in some of those areas on our overall number of dwellings that we're trying to achieve. So I think that would be useful if we reduce from 10 to 7 stories, if we reduce from 7 back to 5, if we go from 5 back to 2 to 4, which people are asking for. What would the impact of that be on our dwelling targets? So with that, I'll leave it to the chamber, but second this motion.
Okay. Councillor Crabb.
Thank you. I just wanted to make a couple of comments. Firstly, thanking Manager Donaldson and his team for doing such a fabulous job as far as consultation and also accommodating some extensions and other methods of consulting and speaking with the community. As you can see from the report, it's clear that the wonderful residents of Goodwood Ward had many comments to make, and I really, again, appreciate them reaching out and making those comments through Councillor Roach and myself and the planning team here at the city. And I'm looking really forward to the bus tour and finding out some more. So thank you.
Councillor Brzezinski.
Oh, I was going to say exactly the same as Nick. I think, as Chris, I think Don and Nick had a very challenging time with doing this. And also to reiterate what Councillor Bonham has said, I mean, some of the applications that have come in have really been outstanding, the research that's gone into it, and it really goes to show the decision to extend the consultation time period was the right decision because it allowed those people just to complete what really is quite a challenging thing to do. So, yeah, with hindsight, I think it's really comforting to know that we made the right decision in that area. So, yeah, that's all.
Okay. Councillor Roach.
Yeah, I'd just like to reiterate some of the other comments and applaud the work of people, particularly in the Goodwood Ward, which is the most impacted by the Planning for Growth changes. And in particular, the Wayville, which has 2 precincts that impacts that particular area. And just a question for you, Don. In the report, the recommendation is to a 5% removal of the historical area overlay and potential demolition around 4%. Does that include Wayville or does that include quite a bit of what areas does that include in that report?
I think I'll ask Don to answer that for you. Thank you.
Through the presiding member, Can I just correct one statement though? It's not a recommendation as such. It's merely noting that as the draft plan stands at the moment, the reduction in historic area overlay, which covers the vast majority of the residential areas, if we remove those overlays for where they apply in those housing diversity areas, it would equate to those percentages. It's not necessarily saying that would be the actual outcome of that because of obviously council decisions and the like.
Happy? Okay. Mover, close.
Thank you, Your Worship. In closing, if I may, just one observation. No, not an observation. I'm asking members, please turn up for the bus tour. The decisions we're about to make on this are profound, they're deep, and they're long-reaching, both geographically around the city of Unley, but also time-wise. We need to be as informed as we possibly can, and you won't achieve that without being on the bus tour.
Okay. Thanks, Dom, for the promo, and you're not driving the bus, so that's good. Those in favour? Unanimous. Excellent. Next, business precinct plan. Good. Don, you again.
Thank you. I wish to move option 1, if I may.
Yes, you can.
In so doing, I note that option 3 would be a dereliction of duty towards our businesses and therefore untenable. If a member here tonight can provide a strong case for an amendment to, through option 2, that may be worth considering, I'm happy to do that. Without this, option 1 clearly provides that message of support to our bricks and mortar businesses are looking for. We've been building to this motion, this decision, since it was first considered by BDAC back in February 25. It recognises that we have already identified business precincts as opposed to the 4 main streets that usually take our focus. We may yet identify more precincts. More importantly, it recognises that investing into the infrastructure in business districts is the more productive investment that council can make towards the sustainability of these businesses. The staging and the setting of priorities, I suggest, are well reasoned. This does not stop us re-evaluating priorities if facts not known to us today reveal themselves in the fullness of time. Indeed, that comment replicates those of BDAC. The committee, and as written in the report accompanying this agenda item, was comfortable with the approach and considered whole-of-life cyclical thinking as good practice. Whilst there was some commentary in relation to tiers of precincts, the approach was considered sound. To do otherwise is to be reactive in lieu of proactive, to have an ad hoc or a knee-jerk approach to ensuring these precincts remain revitalised. I therefore implore members to show their encouragement to our business sector by approving this motion.
He should have moved it. Councillor Finos, you're seconding it?
I will be seconded and reserve my right, Your Honour.
Councillor Gaffey.
Thank you, Your Worship. Look, the Business Precinct Action Plan, I highly support it. It's well designed for the long term. However, I'd like to sort of just walk elected members through a couple of things. Page 191, which basically identifies the long-term sort of plan there. And if you look through that, you'll see that many of the precincts there are noted with planning in the next 10 years and that sort of stuff. Depending on where they're classified, whether they're in an urban spot where they're more likely, the civic, which should be highly likely there, and ranging down. The challenges I find with this plan here is that areas that are listed in neighbourhood are sort of like the unforgotten child. They're not mentioned here explicitly because we're going to sort of get round to them. But if you turn back to, where are we, page 191, it notes that we're going to do business precinct improvement every 10 to 15 years for corridor, tier 4 sort of things there. So whilst I applaud the design that's here, I do want to make sure that there is long-term sort of planning to make sure that some of these areas, perhaps it's nominally in the 15 to 20 year mark, it's in the 20 to 25 year mark, that we don't forget those sort of precincts there. Otherwise, we'll spend a lot of time on the very big shiny stuff, your urban, your civic or your civic sort of areas, or your urban, and yet the corridor ones we might forget to get round to, and then all of a sudden, you know, in 25, 30 years' time, there's a lot of work that's been neglected and that we need to catch up on. So it's just one thing I'd draw your attention to.
Councillor Russo.
Just a query on page 3 of the business precinct action plan.
What number on the bottom of the page?
180 of the papers.
Thank you.
We talk about there's a table at the bottom describing 12 business precinct being identified here, focus areas, should I say. And then there's a whole pile of core industry or focus that these roads are. First of all, my first question is local services to me is a very broad word. What does local services actually mean? Is it needed? And why has only some got local services and others don't? I can understand with something like Crossroad, aged care facilities, that's fine. So that's my first question. It seems to be a very broad word that doesn't really say much. The others are fairly clear. I'd also like to identify that on Goodwood Road we talk about food and wine. It's fine, but it should be food and beverage because that's normally the terminology you use, because food and beverage, all sorts of places, coffee shops, all the rest of it. But that's also, if you ask me, that they're two, not just Goodwood Road, but I would say Kingman Road and also Unley Road, very much also food and beverage. So I've just got some queries about some of the labelling here of some of it and the consistency of how things are used. That's all. And it might be just a guide, but just being mindful if this is going out, how people view it, or maybe how businesses might view it when they think, I'm a pub on Unley Road or I'm a cafe on Quingwell Road and I don't see my industry or my business represented here, I guess. I know it's a tough one. Yeah, sorry, two parts to that.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Through the chair. Local services is just doctors.
As professional
physios.
services?
Yes, as professional services, but that was sort of the high level guide that we use for that term. And we can change the language to food and beverage as well.
I don't think local services is really a descriptive of anything. We've got professional services. I'd be saying local services, it's not prescriptive enough of a category of an industry where food and beverage, lifestyle, they're very prescriptive of what they are. That's just my opinion.
Councillor Hughes. Hang on, the CEO wants
Through the chair, perhaps we just add suggestion, recommendation 6, that the CEO is authorised to make any minor editorial changes, and then we can pick up the questions about professional services and a few other bits like that.
And pubs. Okay. Thanks, Councillor Hughes.
Thank you to the CEO for preempting my addendum to the motion. And I have just one example that should be tidied up. Background, under the concept of business precincts, we have approximately 1,600 GST registered businesses across more than 38 kilometres of public realm. On page 180, we have approximately 6,000 GST registered businesses across 42 kilometres of public realm.
Thank you, Councillor Hughes. Point made. Okay, move it.
Hold on.
Councillor Manetsky, you wish to speak, do you?
Yes, I do. Look, I actually think this is a good piece of work. I know there might be things to tweak, but like this is far and away better than what we had, which was nothing. It provides a prospective, structured approach to revitalising and maintaining precincts rather than an ad hoc approach and leaving certain precincts out. Well, we might have to do a bit of tidying up there, but I think in the main that's what we're getting, as well as not really having, and previously we didn't have a baked-in approach to budget allocation either. So trying to undertake precinct upgrades under isolated operational projects just didn't work, and we had that experience in the past over and over again. So I agree with embedding recurrent budget amounts relevant to the precinct hierarchy. I think that's good. The downside, of course, is that there will always be increased depreciation where service levels are higher than what they currently are. This is something that we have discussed in council, that any time we do more than like for like, there's an increased further budgetary impact. I thought the five-year review of the plan is probably a good time frame, and I think, and just having that review, I think is good to have that in there. So look, I'm happy with this report. Thank you, Donald.
Councillor Palmer.
Yeah, in closing.
Oh, hang on. We've got Councillor Crabb. You almost missed the boat, but I'll let you get in.
Yeah, my light was flashing. I was ready to go.
Yeah, off you go.
Yeah, I just wanted to second the comments by Councillor Brunetsky as well. I thought it was a great report and is a good point to work from. I also just wanted to suggest that some of the feedback provided by Councillor Hughes perhaps could have been more constructive in an email before the meeting rather than in the chamber in front of the public gallery. So I'm supportive of 6 being included in there too, because I think having the editorial changes capacity is important. So
yes, that's where it fits. Thank you, Councillor Palmer.
Take 3. Yeah, look, in closing, I made the observation earlier when the fact that we need to be ready to revise, amend, etc., when facts not known to us right now come to light. Given the length of the schedule, that is likely to happen. So I hope that addresses Councillor Gaffey's concerns. We have a plan, and that's better than no plan. Being proactive is better than being reactive. So I trust that you all agree with that, and we'll vote for the motion.
Good, unanimous. Next, Business Precinct Management Plan. Councillor Finos.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll be seeking your support to endorse a 3-year trial of the Business Precinct Management Plan as outlined in item 4.7, option 1. While the existing trade association model has served the City of Unley well over the past 20 to 30 odd years, there is clear evidence that is under increasing pressure. Trends indicate a decline in volunteer participation in trader engagement across all precincts. In March 2026, the Business Economic Development Advisory Committee BDAC's report highlights both the vital role volunteers continue to play and the common challenges faced by all 4 associations, particularly in sustaining engagement and operational capacity. Having served as chair of Unley Road Association for many years and as a member of BDAC committees over the past 3.5 years, I firsthand have been aware of the governance, leadership and sustainability challenges confronting our Main Street committees. Encouragingly, this report presents a model that responds to many of the long-standing issues raised over many years. Importantly, support for exploring a new operating model is welcomed by all 4 associations. In response, BDAC has recommended that Council adopt a more sustainable and coordinated approach to precinct management, including precinct engagement initiatives, streetscape upgrades and beautification, marketing and promotional campaigns for increased commercial activation, event and programs for activating visitation, business planning and collaboration initiatives, improved communication and stakeholder coordination, administration support to deliver these activities effectively. The proposed business precinct management plan aims to address historical challenges by introducing more consistent, transparent and sustainable operational framework. It will strengthen governance and accountability, clearly define roles across council, BDAC, reference groups and administration, and introduce a dedicated business precinct coordinator's role. The plan also establishes a structural program of initiatives designed to strengthen precinct identity, increase visitation and improve economic performance both at an individual precinct level and collectively across all 4 main streets. Importantly, it provides clearer oversight of the separate rate, expenditure and a stronger link between strategic intent and on-ground outcomes. Early today, I attended the launch of a collaborative Mother's Day promotion between the Unley Road and Kingley Road Association, a first for the City of Unley. This initiative will support over 120 businesses with 25,000 promotional booklets distributed locally, which you all have received tonight. There you go. This is a practical example of what can be achieved through better coordination, shared resources and a more integrated approach. This proposed model is about ensuring that we are well positioned for the future, supporting our traders, strengthening our precincts and delivering sustainable outcomes for our business community. I encourage elected members to support this motion.
Councillor Gaff, are you going to second it? Yep. Okay. Okay, well, if you switch off. Councillor Palmer.
Thank you. As a member of BDAC and representing what I believe to be their assessment, I support this motion. Members will be well aware of the trials and tribulations of the recent workings of the various street trader associations, certainly the most recent challenges faced by several. As a 15-year member of council and one with a focus on our businesses, I can say nothing has changed. In other words, nothing has worked. We've changed our modelling over time around assisting the associations, but it would seem to no avail. Try as we might, the focus has invariably had to be on governance, meaning a large slice of the funding has been directed this way. This is confirmed in the report, and I'm sure we all agree is unsustainable. The current model, I believe, to not only be the best option available to us, but the only option, short of us doing nothing. As reported on page 202, Council would directly administer the separate rate through a streamlined governance, budgeting and reporting model. The existing business precinct reference group, with representatives from each of the 4 precincts, would be formalised as a subcommittee of BDAC, providing a clear advisory pathway for precinct level input without duplicating governance structures. Administration, communication and delivery would be supported by a dedicated business precinct coordinator, 1 instead of 4. This may well see a change in the role of BDAC, noting that we'll be reviewing their role, or I expect we would be reviewing their role in the near future, given the term of the current BDAC terminates in March next year. For those of us who can remember back that far, this is almost a back to the future exercise, almost exactly with one difference, and I'm talking the days of the Street Life Trust for those that have been around long enough, the only difference being 1 coordinator, not 4.
Now, Councillor Gaffey, I gazumped you really, and you generously. Councillor Russo's now ahead of you with the lights. You happy? Councillor Russo, off you go.
That's funny for you.
I got him to switch his light off.
I wasn't expecting that. That's okay. I'm going to speak not as a member of BDAC, but for somebody who has been very passionate about this project long before some of the people at this table were here, in regards to the fact that it was one of the first things I couldn't get my head round when I came on council and couldn't understand, I guess some of the ineffectiveness, overuse of money, inappropriate use of money, as far as I was concerned, that was occurring with, I guess, the setup and the arrangements of the 4 associations. So I'm sort of relieved that finally, by creating BDAC, by creating a plan, a business plan, and because we have all supported that, the economic viability of the City of Unley is equally as important as all the other things that we do, that finally that part of this resolution is to this point in time. Finally, yes, we've got there, and that's, this has been going on before my time on council as well. So it has been many reports, many assessments saying that we needed to change. But I guess the opportunity to change has been there, but it has taken the courage of councils to question and have another go, another crack, go out to consultation, to have the right, I guess, approach in place, or the right plan in place to enable this to now happen. And maybe we have got to that time where the associations have realised that they can't keep doing this on their own. It's not feasible. So with all those things coming to fruition, I guess we've landed in this position, which I think finally is the direction where we take good economic development for the City of Unley to continue and to grow. I think it'll be more equitable. I think it will be more open to many of the industries that are represented across our community, and not just those on Main Street. So I'm really pleased that this has got to this point, and that tonight we will be hopefully supporting this recommendation, because I think BDAC have done their role. Council has enabled BDAC to take this role on, and they've come up with a solution. And I guess the proof will be in the pudding when we go forward. But I do think a change is so needed, and here is the change. So I'm really pleased that we've got this position, and thank our councillors who've worked with the BDAC group to guide them through this to get to this point.
Now, Councillor Gaffey.
Thank you, Your Worship. I support this. I think it's an amazing concept that's come through from BDAC with the help of administration to put this together, so congratulations to you. The changes seem quite simple, obvious, an idea whose time has come, but finally we're here. We've sort of been going around this idea for the last 4 years, and we've finally gotten to this point. Sometimes we make decisions in this body and we find ourselves where the decision we make has unintended consequences, and I think that that's going to happen here. Volunteers who submit themselves to these bodies all of a sudden are asked to do too much when they get on there. For those of us who go and visit these bodies, sit down at their AGMs or just general meetings, will note that the ordinary business owner who's been shanghaied into coming along, just have a drink and come to this meeting, all of a sudden finds themselves as the treasurer or the media person for something like this, to which they're not totally qualified for, they don't have the time for, and all of a sudden they realise they've taken on a job they didn't really want. Maybe they didn't do it well enough there, and then they leave. And then this goes round again until we find the next silly person who puts their hand up and says, yeah, I'll come along for a drink. In this instance, I think you'll find that volunteers will come up with more ideas, be more engaged when they realise they're here just to help and they're going to be supported by council. We may find that these associations actually expand, and we're not asking them to do jobs that they didn't ordinarily want to do. The one thing I'll draw elected members' attention to is that following this, we need to look at the separate rate. So the separate rates as they're listed out, where probably page 237, we've got 4 business precincts: Unley Road, King William Road, Goodwood Road and Fullerton Road. The rates go up by 3.3%. That is tremendous in itself, because traditionally we've had each business precinct come up and say what they would like. We've just given them a blanket 3.3%. However, if the CEO came in today and said, I have an idea for separate rates, and my plan is that I'm going to charge the ordinary business on King William Road $1,344 as an average, Goodwood Road businesses at about $638, and then Unley Road at $325, and that's my plan, he would be laughed out of the room. Sorry, Peter. But I don't think that this is a good plan. We take this on because it's been grandfathered, because this is what we've always done. And so future administration, future councils need to identify whether this is the best way that we do it, whether we take Fullerton Road and you take the southern half, those businesses are excluded, but if you're beyond this certain line, you don't pay the rate. Why do we do these things? So that would be the next part of the question, but I support this idea.
Is anybody going to speak against the motion? Okay. Do you want to add a comment or two?
Yes, look, I won't sort of reiterate too much of what's already been said. I agree with the other councillors. We really are at the tipping point. Referring to main streets as business precincts foreshadows a new change approach, which is more than welcome. One of the key things is reducing the administrative burden on business precincts, and that will be that is the one I think most significant thing for the existing model to fail. It's it was always very fragile. Things always fluctuate, and now things have actually failed. But we've been at that tipping point so often. There is so much administrative burden for busy business owners, and so I understand that now in the longer term things have failed, and it's failed in a good way. A focus on maximising the investment of the separate rate into priority areas such as marketing and comms, precinct beautification events is far and away a better way to go, to use a separate rate. And Steve Finos has already stated how that ball is rolling today. So I think there's very good signs there. The notion that associations may choose to wind up is now where we're at, or they can remain in a voluntary capacity as a reference group. I think that all sounds very sensible to me. I think that now that we've landed here, I think it's a good thing. Sometimes when things don't look good, they turn out better. So there we are.
Okay. Would you like to close?
Yes, Your Honour, thank you. Unley business precincts are central to our economy and community, with over 6,000 businesses, which is questionable at the moment, contributing nearly 20% of the council's total rate revenue. However, as our city evolves, we need a more structured and sustainable approach. The Business Precinct Management Plan delivers this, strengthening activation, marketing and precinct identity, while reducing the burden on volunteers through a dedicated coordinator and improved governance. Alongside this, the Activation Action Plan, which Councillor Palmer outlined earlier, introduces a clear framework for future planning, investment, collaboration, ensuring consistent, high-quality precincts. Together, these plans provide a more transparent, equitable and featured-focused model, supporting local businesses, strengthening partnerships and enhancing the experience of our business community in line with our long-term vision, the community vision towards 2050. I commend this motion to the Chamber and encourage your support in strengthening Unley's business precincts and the local community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Those in favour? Unanimous. Now, I'd stop the CEO commenting. I said let the members vote. Do you want to add? No. Well, I'll make a comment. At the launch today, we've got shopping precincts where strip centres are competing against. And I'm so pleased that we've got the King William Road traders, about 38 of them, and about 54 Unley Road traders working together. Sam, the chair of the King William Road traders. This is a concept which will challenge those large shopping centres like Westfield or even Burnside, etc., to deliver a model of open street type strip shopping. And please have a look at it. And it's online tomorrow. It was launched today. It's online, and you can just go to the bits and pick it all out and trip around Unley. So please do. Okay. A bit of a promo. Next, draft and... Oh, this is actually a big one. To go out to public consultation. Councillor Bonham.
Yes, I'd like to move this motion and each of the elements within it, as up on the screen at the moment. And remembering and stressing that this is a draft budget for community consultation, not the final budget. So elected members, as we all know, we've been involved in 2 budget workshops, and staff have been guided in forming this report and the budget by the discussions at those workshops. And the budget is always a compromise. Some people want more spent on some things and less on others, but ultimately we need to consider the package as a whole. So just drawing people's attention to the key points in this, our rate rise of 3.8%, we acknowledge that that is above the Adelaide December CPI, but as stated in the report, that takes into account likely increases in prices given our current geopolitical instability. Our various ratios are within target, so 4.3% operating surplus ratio is within our target range, albeit below our desired average of 5% over the long-term financial plan, but nonetheless we are fairly close to that 5%. Our financial liabilities ratio will come in at a maximum of 38%. While that's well under the 50% average over the long-term financial plan, we anticipate this significantly reducing once we've finalised sales such as the Marion Lane sale at item 4.1, which we endorsed this evening. So some of those land parcel sales are actually likely to bring our financial liabilities ratio down to around 25%. So that will be about 10 million over the 18 million that's anticipated for this financial year. And our asset renewal ratio is slightly above our preferred 100%, but over the course of the long-term financial plan, that all evens out. Just to note that we've reduced our operating projects from 1.5 million forecast at the December meeting to 1.3 million or thereabouts, and that so that's improved our operating surplus, but that reduction is really because we've moved some staff costs over to general operating rather than within projects, which we considered was more appropriate for that to be located. New capital projects went beyond the forecast at our December workshop, but includes commitments for multi-year projects that we're obliged to undertake, such as Brownhill Keswick Creek. It also, unfortunately in some ways, is part of the co-funding projects committed to by the Labor Party if they won office. So while we're committed to spending a little bit more money than we'd anticipated overall, that's a fortunate outcome because we're getting things for our clubs that they desperately require. Projects and also noting that some of these new capital projects are only going to go ahead if we get grant funding for them, such as the walking and cycling plan. So because we've got staff who are very adept at getting grant funding, I anticipate that will go ahead, but nonetheless, some of those capital expenditures are still based on getting that grant funding. So I think this is a good budget to be going out for consultation on.
Councillor Gaffey.
I'd like to second, Your Worship. Just a couple of questions before we get started. Page 281 of the annual operating activities there. There's a line item for technology and business improvement that hasn't been in previous budgets there, which is approximately 20% or $4.7 million. Would administration like to speak towards that?
Yes, through the chair, that is what was previously referred to as business systems
and solutions. So that has been there previously. That covers off software subscriptions and all the technology that we provide to run the council. And in terms of percentage, it's about 10% of our operating expenditure before depreciation.
Do you have another question?
One of them is, we're just, as long as we're able to change on page 234, it has the towards 2025 rather than towards 2050. I thought Chris Crabb might be interested in that one. The numbers, as has been explained by Councillor Bonham, are very solid. The balance of having a 3.8% increase, which was highlighted today by Alex Brown in his email, puts us quite low compared with other councils. The numbers for where our debt levels are, approximately 38 to 40%, is quite reasonable when compared with other councils there. And if we're able to proceed with the likely planned sale of land, we'll end up at approximately 25%, which is reasonable and means that we're not overly paying high interest costs for the future there. I note the increased rate will still mean that the minimum rate for our ratepayers will be $1,063. The modest rate increase of 3.8% allows us to maintain our high quality services without, however, placing an undue burden on our households and businesses. One of the things I noted was that we have a $2,000 cap for separate ratepayers for the separate rates, which was set in the 2016-17 budget. If that had been kept up with CPI, that would be more than 30% higher. So council may wish to review that, whether that's an appropriate number or whether they had set that too high at that point. As has been mentioned by Councillor Bonham, the asset renewal ratio and the sustainability ratio are a solid 104%, confirming that we're renewing and sustaining our infrastructure at or slightly above the required rate, with the proposed additional borrowings of about $5.9 million, well within our capacity there. So this budget is another one that administration has put together, which again puts us in a strong financial position there. This type of budget was, reviewed by ASCOSA and noting that Unley's financial performance has been sustainable there. It's a credit to administration, it's a credit to this deliberative body. And so hopefully we'll be financially sustainable across the longer term.
Any questions? Do you want to add anything? Yep. Any questions? Okay, no questions. Councillor Hughes.
Okay. I like the budget, and I was very pleased to see one of the motions tonight was part 6. The CEO be authorised to make any necessary minor edits. So seeing that, I sent some suggestions in for editorial consistency and corrections to Alicia. So I trust that's all been well received. And I'm also pleased to see the way we've described our debt position. At our briefings, I was quite dissatisfied with that, what was potentially going out to the public. And I like the disclaimers or the explanations. We've got surplus land and the impact is going to be our debt should finish up around 25% rather than 40+%. So I'm very pleased with the way it's been finally put together.
Councillor Brunetsky.
Yes, look, I'd like to just say that I'm very happy with how this has been put together. I'd like to point out that I found a typo and I let Alex know earlier today that there was a typo. Thank you.
Well, you didn't have to have long conversations with staff today. Thank you. Okay, mover.
Close.
Those in favour? Thank you. I think comparing us with other councils is probably a mistake. I think we're doing it right and it's important. Now we'll get on to the next item. More cash. 4.9. Councillor Jack Gaffey. Gaffey, yeah, you're on. People have been polite tonight. They're sharing around moving.
Okay, yeah, no problems.
Jennifer saw you and turned the light off. You're on.
Sure. Thank you, Your Worship. Well, Your Worship, it gives me great pleasure to move item 4.9, asking for more money as you've described it there, or the renewal of the cash advance debenture. This report seeks Council's approval to renew our $12 million cash advance debenture facility, don't say that 3 times, with the Local Government Finance Authority, which expires in June of this year. For context, the LGFA is South Australia's official financing body for councils. So the cash advance debenture is a short-term flexible at-call borrowing facility. Essentially, it works like a low-cost council overdraft. It allows us to borrow only what we need at any given time and repay it quickly when cash inflows, such as quarterly rates, grants, and other large sums of money arrive. The flexibility of this type of facility is ideal for managing the natural timing differences between our income and our expenditure on major capital works. Council currently maintains 2 such facilities with the LGFA, totalling $20 million. Renewing this $12 million facility ensures we retain sufficient short-term borrowing capacity while our longer-term debt requirements are confirmed through the long-term financial plan. As we've just discussed in the previous item, our forecast borrowings sit at 30th of June at $12 million there, but will rise to approximately $18 million by 30th June next year. Potentially this will be lower if we have planned surplus land sales, and this flexibility is something that will allow that debt to reduce quite easily. These funds will help us support strategic land acquisitions, the Unley Museum and Galleries redevelopment, the swimming centre heat pump electrification, and other priority projects. This recommendation has the full support of the Audit and Risk Committee, which reviewed our cash flow forecasts and the overall borrowing position at the March meeting there. I reckon I've lost my page here.
It's like a home loan where you can borrow against and pay up and reduce. It's simple.
Thanks, Your Worship. I was just going to mention that the final part was that the Audit Committee recommended that once we've moved through this and our debt becomes more stable, that part of the debt be reviewed for a fixed longer-term facility there, which will help us reduce the interest payments potentially in time.
Excellent. Councillor Bonham.
Yes, I will second this motion, and really I haven't got much to add beyond what Councillor Gaffey's comprehensive explanation there, but I will just reiterate that the Audit and Risk Committee supported us actually continuing with this cash advance debenture. Thought it was a very good facility, good idea to continue it, but also, as Councillor Gaffey noted, suggesting that we actually review it in 2027 when we're the structure of our debt in 2027. So, of course, that will be up to the next council to have a look at.
Mover? Those in favour? Yeah, it's a really good idea. 410. Not Councillor Palmer. I've got no lights. Could somebody like to move the delivery plan 6-month process, please? It's just a report being received. Hang on. Councillor Gaffey's got his... not Councillor Gaffey. Councillor Crabb has got his light on.
So, yeah, both the most handsome councillors in the room.
Yes,
I'm happy to move that the report be received and reserve my right.
Fine. Second it. Councillor... I understood that. I knew that. A seconder gets right of reply. You get your right of reply automatically, and you're summing up. Councillor Gaffey. Yeah, done that. Okay. Can you switch your light off, please? Thank you. Councillor Brunetsky, you've got something
I wasn't
to say?
fast enough, was I? With my light.
You wanted to move it or second it, did you?
Yeah, look, I like the way this 4-year delivery plan works. I think it's a very sensible approach, integrating various plans into the one document rather than having separate plans sitting outside of the actual, strategic document or planning framework. So I think it's a great move forward.
Okay. Councillor Bonham.
Yes, another fantastic piece of work from our staff. Thank you very much. My only comment, I did have a bit of back and forth with staff on this today, was the community survey that's referred to a number of times through the report. I thought it would be well, not this time around, but next time around, to actually explain the methodology behind that, because this is a public-facing document. It will be useful for our public to know where that community survey actually came from, you know, how that was compiled and so forth. So, yeah, but apart from that, it's a really good document. Thank you.
Mover. Councillor, would you like to now have your right to reply and respond?
Close.
Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Oh, sorry, you wanted to speak? Oh, you can speak now. No, if it was going to be, don't get a pass.
Yeah, through your chair. Look, it's only thank you for the feedback provided. I think it is a very good piece of work and probably represents one of the outcomes over the last 12 months. Like if you go back 12 months, we've done quite a bit of work on strategic planning framework. So we now have a community plan. We have a 4-year delivery plan. We report against the 4-year delivery plan, which I think is important for the community. In the next month or so, you will get the 4 lead strategies, which have a 10-year horizon. That then closes that whole loop. It's not quite right, is it? It's a clear line of sight between long-term and annual. And I think it is something we've been aiming to do for a couple of years now. This replaces the reporting that you used to get on roof trusses and all that operational stuff, much more meaningful, and we'll look at doing it every 6 months or so.
And you'll see some KPIs because it's already there in the big picture. Okay, next, Centennial Park. That will be you. Yes, thank you, Councillor Beat.
Thank you, Worship. Yes, look, this report is really just for noting, but members should also note that it's as of the 31st of December, so it's a little bit dated. But a few items worth noting are the strong performance against budget up to that date, with an operating surplus of $326,000. The 2 new board members have settled in quite nicely, I understand. They're replacing the 2 retiring members as of middle of last year and then at the end of the year. There's a new chief financial officer has been appointed because the previous CFO was now the CEO. So it's a progression there. There's been a comprehensive consultation progress undertaken about the cemetery master plan. Members are aware of that. And that's helped inform the 2026-2030 strategic plan. And those plans are being finalised and be presented to the owner councils next month, I understand. The only other thing is at the very end of the report, there's an item there about the Park Life digital magazine. Elected members should be receiving that, but if somebody is not receiving it, then there's a tab there to link to ensure that you do.
Councillor Brunetsky.
Second and reserve my right.
Mover, close. Those in favour? Unanimous. Council action records. Report be received. Councillor Brunetsky. Yeah, Councillor Brunetsky. Sorry, I caught you. Wasn't close enough. I'll swallow it. Councillor Bonham, what's the issue?
Need a second.
I second it. Nobody? Mover? Those in favour? Unanimous. I should look. Those in favour? Thank you. Unanimous. Made sure. Questions on notice. Councillor Bonham, re-carbon emissions, and the answers are laid out there for us. Mayor's report. Somebody got to move and seconded this, please. Move it. Deputy Mayor's, Councillor Finos seconded. Any speakers? Yeah. Perhaps I'm going too fast. Councillor, would you like to close? Those in favour? Unanimous. Deputy Mayor's report. Somebody like to move that? Councillor Palmer. Seconded. Well, Councillor Beat. Mover. Those in favour? Good. Reports of members are there for your reading. Correspondence, that's tabled before. And I declare the meeting closed at 21:03.